Now look, if we were in the middle of a raid boss or dungeon boss DPS phase and you said, hey Mactics, I can pump out a lot of damage on this boss by ripping a Celestial Nighthawk Golden Gun, which just recently got buffed, in conjunction with a Cade's Retribution on the Still Hunt Sniper Rifle with Celestial Nighthawk, which also just got buffed, and then a couple additional sniper shots for another Cade's Retribution Celestial Nighthawk Golden Gun shot, and clock about 31,000 damage or 2.4k DPS, I would say, yeah, that's pretty good. But have you tried Mobius Quiver for your DPS? And you would say, Mobius Quiver? No, I have not tried that for DPS. Why? What's going on? Is it good? And I said, well, I don't know. Let's see. We're just going to open up with a little Mobius Quiver tether, and then we're going to go ahead and rip our Leviathan's Breath, one crit to fill up the Mobius Quiver bar, and then another crit to fill up the Mobius Quiver bar, and then we'll shoot another Mobius Quiver, which is now dealing 227% bonus damage in conjunction with the 227% bonus damage from our Leviathan's Breath, and then we go ahead and lay down another Mobius Quiver, and then we go ahead and rip a couple of additional Leviathan's Breath shots. I probably missed a couple of crits throughout here as well, and he's 35% debuff for the entire fire team throughout that entire time, and we've done 2.7k damage for a total of 62,000 damage, and that's without surges and without all additional buffs and without all additional goodness. And with this build, you're permanently invisible, you're making your allies visible, you got permanent ability regeneration, you got Devour, you got a ton of grenades, you got Weaken, you got good ad clear, you got the whole setup. You might say, Mac, can you please tell me about that build? And I would say yes, I can tell you about that build. But before I tell you about that build, let me tell you about 2 emblem giveaways that we're doing in the video. The first of which will go to a lucky viewer who likes the video, subscribes to the channel, and leaves a comment down below of what build video you want to see next. Be it revolving around a specific exotic weapon you like, be it revolving around a specific exotic armor piece you like, just let me know and we'll try to make it happen. The other emblem code is going to be an extremely rare emblem called Back to Basics. The code will be hidden somewhere in the video on screen. Keep your eyes peeled. First person to find it, it's all theirs. Now, to understand exactly why this build has magically become so powerful for boss DPS burst damage and generally speaking pretty solid damage over time, we need to take a look at the Renegades patch notes where the Mobius Quiver super got a gigantic buff. Specifically, while the super is active, dealing damage now increases the power of subsequent shadow shot attacks and bow weapons. It also increased the base super duration of Mobius Quiver from 10 seconds to 16 seconds and increased the Orpheus rig duration of the super from 16 seconds to 20 seconds. And you already know what browser we're reviewing this on. I don't gotta tell you, it's the best browser in the game. Our affiliate link is in the description below. $3 per person who downloads it using our affiliate link. Thank you so much for your support of the channel doing so. I think you're really gonna love it. Now, the reason these buffs are important is when we take a look at Orpheus rig, we'll notice here that strictly from Orpheus rig, not only are we getting that 16-second increase to 20-second super duration as previously mentioned in the patch notes, but our Mobius Quiver super is actually going to have an additional shot. So if we come over here in the subclass, Mobius Quiver at base is going to fire 2 volleys of 3 arrows that seek nearby targets. It's going to make them volatile and deal increased damage to tethered targets. Defeating those tethered targets is going to create orbs of power, and tethering those foes is also going to tether them to a void anchor, which is going to significantly weaken and suppress them, so we do bonus damage, which is going to be crucial in any raid boss or dungeon boss situation, or just for tanky enemies. Now again, at base, we're firing 2 volleys with the Mobius Quiver, but we're moving up to 3 when we engage the Orpheus rigs, extended duration as well, which means we can really stretch out the duration of that weakened debuff. And with all the damage that we're going to be getting from the 227% damage bonus applied to both our subsequent shadow shots and our Leviathan's Breath bow shots, we're going to be hitting like a truck. This thing absolutely nukes when it comes to damage. Now, as far as the rest of the subclass setup goes, we are really going into ability regeneration, utility, survivability, and all of that goodness. So our first aspect is going to be on the prowl. We're entering invisibility is going to mark a nearby combatant as a priority target for us. Defeating that priority target is going to create a weakening cloud of smoke that makes us and allies invisible whenever we pass through it, which will of course then reactivate on the prowl to mark another priority target. And anytime priority targets are defeated, us and nearby allies are going to gain increased weapon reload speed and stability, and are granted bonus grenade, melee, and class ability energy. So high uptime on all abilities, not just for us, but also for our teammates that we are going to be assisting. Furthermore, we're going to be rocking and rolling with Stylish Executioner, where anytime we defeat a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target, we are going to go invisible and gain True Sight. Now, you might be wondering, how are we actually going invisible in the first place? Because we don't have anything like Trapper's Ambush, we don't have anything like Vanishing Step, well, most of the time our initial instance of invisibility is going to come through Stylish Executioner, because anytime we defeat a weakened target, which for example is any target that we hit with our Snare Bomb, which we can also immediately refund through the usage of our Gambler's Dodge, which is also going to refund our melee. If we defeat that target, that is then going to count as a defeat on a void debuff target, make us invis initially, which will then allow us to proc on the prowl, create a bunch of weakening clouds, which will create more weakened enemies, which will allow us to re-proc Stylish Executioner, and we can go ahead and hit the loop. We can also re-instance the on the prowl loop strictly by walking into the smoke cloud created from the weakened priority enemy that defeat. That will also work. So lots of invisibility for both us and the team, lots of ability regeneration, but wait, there's more. We also have another way to defeat weakened enemies through the Echo of Undermining, where a Void Grenade is going to weaken targets. So simply throwing a grenade at a target and defeating it with a grenade, or following up and defeating it if the grenade isn't enough to kill it on its own, that will also proc Stylish Executioner because we are defeating a weakened enemy. My personal favorite grenade for this build is the Scatter Grenade, as it has the lowest base cooldown of any of the Void Grenades, and any other Void Grenades that share a base cooldown with it, they do pretty comparable damage. I just like Scatter a lot. If you do prefer a different grenade, you are more than welcome to go with that, but I would personally recommend Scatter. As far as our other fragments go, we are going with the Echo of Persistence, where void buffs applied to us, such as Invisibility, Overshield, and Devour, all three of them are going to be applicable with this build, are going to have increased duration. Next up is the Echo of Starvation, which is going to be our source of Devour, where anytime we pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power, we get Devour. That's going to give us healing and grenade energy refund on every subsequent kill, which is again going to be nice for more Scatter Grenade spam, more weakening through our Scatter Grenade, and more initial instances of invisibility through Stylish Executioner. We're also going to be going with the Echo of Instability. Anytime we defeat targets with our grenades, which again we're getting very frequently through Devour, we get volatile rounds for all of our void weapons. And then finally we're going with the Echo of Reprisal, where final blows when surrounded by combatants grant super energy. With all of the invisibility that we have, all the weakening smoke clouds, and all the debuffing to proc Stylish Executioner, it's very easy to play very close range, stay next to enemies, get a lot of super energy, which of course we care very much about because that Mobius quiver absolutely hits like a truck. Now, as far as our weaponry goes, your special ammo weapon, you can basically go whatever you want. I'm just go ahead and rocking and rolling with the Mint Retrograde in the top slot. It is still absolutely fantastic, but you can really use absolutely anything you like. There is no particular synergy specifically with any of the top slot special ammo weapons that we can use, so whatever you really like. Bottom slot, as I said before, I love using Leviathan's Breath with this build, but you do not have to go Leviathan's Breath if you do not want to. The combat bows actually also work exceptionally well with this build and can also benefit from the bonus bow damage from the Mobius quiver that is applicable to both bows and crossbows as well. So if you want to go something like a legendary crossbow to take advantage of all that damage when you're slinging out all of your Mobius quivers, you can then free up your energy slot to take advantage of your exotic weapon. You could go something like Choir of One, you can go with something like Graviton Lance, you can go with something like Collective Obligation. Tons of fantastic exotic void weapon options for you to go ahead and go with. I have been enjoying Leviathan's Breath a lot though, so I am going to stick with that. If you do decide to go the route that I'm going and going with a legendary void weapon, I do highly recommend utilizing one that has a way to initiate Stylish Executioner on its own through something like destabilizing rounds. Something that also has Repulsor Brace can also pair exceptionally well because we are constantly defeating void debuff targets. Now you might be looking at this and be like, wait a minute, Mac, if you're using a weapon with the stabilizing rounds, which is going to grant volatile rounds to your void weapon, why do you care about using something like the Echo of Stability, where defeating targets with grenades is going to grant volatile rounds to your void weapons? And that's a great question. The answer is a little bit twofold. Part one is that it just gives us another way to initiate volatile rounds on our weapon, because volatile rounds are very valuable for initiating the procs of our Stylish Executioner. Answer number two is, well, this is kind of a flex slot to a certain degree. If you do feel like you can get away without Echo of Instability and there is another fragment that you would really love to have in this build, please be my guest to swap it out. Although, to be honest, looking at the Void Fragment suite, there's just not a lot of things that we would rather have in this slot. You could perhaps go Echo of Harvest, where defeating a weakened target creates an Orb of Power and a Void Breach. That certainly wouldn't be terrible, but me personally, I just value having an alternate way to get volatile rounds. And this is also going to be particularly nice if you do decide to go the exotic weapon route in your Void Energy slot, because most of those aren't going to come built in with things like destabilizing rounds or Repulsor Brace, specifically in the Graviton Lance department if you decide to go with that option. Again, kind of dealer's choice. If you want to flex this out, be my guest. I kind of kind of like running it. It also gives us the 10 bonus to melee stat, which is kind of cool as well, to give us more snare bombs when we cast our Gambler's Dodge. And so we have a little bit more uptime on our weakening snare bomb to proc Stylish Executioner as well. Moving on to armor mods. On our helmet, we're going to want double dynamo up top so that we get a lot of super energy anytime we cast our class ability near enemy targets. Again, we're going to have our class ability up quite frequently thanks to all the ability regeneration we're going to be getting from On the Prowl. And obviously more supers is huge with this build because the Mobius, quiver, and Orpheus raid combo. Also going with a harmonic siphon so that rapid void weapon final blows create an orb of power. That's going to be nice not only for super energy, also nice for armor charge, and also nice for proccing devour because of our Echo of Starvation. Down on the gloves, we're going to be going with a harmonic loader, increase the reload speed of void weapons. Really solid for our Leviathan's Breath and of course our void energy weapon. We're also going to be going with an impact induction and focusing strike so that anytime we cause damage with a powered melee attack, we refund a little bit of grenade energy and class ability energy respectively. Down on the chest piece, concussive dampener and resistances as usual. Down on the boots, I like a double void weapon surge, 17% bonus to our void weapon damage for our Leviathan's Breath and our energy weapon anytime we're armor charged, in conjunction with the harmonic scavenger so we get more Leviathan's Breath ammo per brick. And then finally on the class item, typical Reaper, time dilation, powerful attraction. Now when it comes to your stats, it should be no surprise the biggest thing we care about is as high of a super stat as possible. I'm clocking 189 right here. After that, we just want to get our grenade and class ability as close to 100 as possible. So I've got 85 class, 90 grenade, and then we want our melee stat to be somewhere in like the 50 to 60 territory. Ideally somewhere around 50. You can maybe even go 45, maybe even 40 if you want to be more daring. That's going to make it so that you have enough so that when you use your Gambler's Dodge near enemy targets, that's going to refund a full melee charge, so your snare bomb is ready to go once again. The only other thing I want to mention, none of these are required for the build to function in any capacity, but as you do make your way through the artifact and get more XP in this expansion, there are a few artifact mods that can be a little bit beneficial to this build, specifically things like Power from Pain, where rapid final blows against weakened combatants grant you Devour, stuff like Reload at range, where precision hits with bows and sniper rifles grant a stacking bonus to the reload speed, or most notably Void Infestation, where defeating a weakened target spawns a tracking projectile that weakens other targets. Again, none of these are truly crucial for this build to work. They're just added nice little benefits and kind of why nots, right? So now that we have the build all set up, we're going to test out in the hardest piece of content that we have available to us at the current moment, and that is of course going to be a Grandmaster difficulty, 400 power, invadable instance of Lawless Frontiers, queuing up completely solo queue at the mercy of matchmaking. We're going to have an invader pulling up and all that goodness. See if we can deal with the invader, see if we can make it through this, see if we can take out all the enemies, see if we can debuff everything enough, smoke all the boss targets, which are extremely tanky in this difficulty, and go ahead and make sure that this build can absolutely cook as much as I say it does. Yo! Is that necessary right out the gate? All right, let's get a little smoke bomb, hit a dodge, get our smoke bomb back. It'll take us a second to get like super duper online because we need to get our super to get super duper, but we'll get there. These are boss level enemies as well, so. Wait, is that guy giving, wait, that's not a servitor? How is a non-servitor giving them servitor immunity? Uh-oh, invader's here. I'm gonna put down the deflector shield. Where is the invader? I'm gonna let the destabilizing rounds are gonna start cooking. Nuke all the shanks. Oh, it looks like my teammate cooked the invader, I think. All right, so now we got our volatile rounds going. The destave in conjunction with the instability, because we're getting some grenade final blows and whatnot. Okay, we'll let a little tether slip in. Another tether slip in. I kind of want to do some damage so I can get my Mobius quiver damage going up. Another tether slipping in. Oh, it just nukes him. Easy peasy. We got a ton of orbs. Oh my god! I don't know how many orbs our fire team had made so far, but one dodge giving me a full super is kind of hilarious. Let me start getting my on the prowl target so I can kill that dude, getting this smoky cloud, take out this dude, make another smoky cloud, take out this dude, make another smoky cloud. We just get a ton of ability energy regeneration as well, both for me and all of our teammates, which is nice. Lots and lots and lots of ability energy. Intel officer. Oh, my entire tether went into his dumb little fan. I forgot, I'm kind of trolling a little bit right now. I should be weaving shots in between my tethers to charge up the meter so that my subsequent shadow shots do significantly more damage. Okay, so let's weaken that guy, take him out. That'll go ahead and mark our next target. It's a tankier fella, so we'll get him, make a new smoke cloud. Hopefully this is a squishier fella, and it is. It's just a little lonely dreg. And so now back to business. Just take everything out. Sling some scatter grenades. Miss our Leviathan's breath shot. Land that one. Got a servitor. Hit him with a scatter for the weaken from undermining. And let's start spreading some tethers. Weaken absolutely everything. We'll do some damage in between so our subsequent tethers do a lot more damage. I'm kind of waiting for like a super tanky target to pop up to hopefully use the last charge of my Mobius on. But I don't think it is going to pop up, so I'll just fling it wherever. This is nice scenery. Well, these guys jump down, throw a scatter grenade out. There's some Devour. We have a tether back. I'm going to save this tether for some... I think wave 4 is probably going to bring some pretty tanky targets, so I think I'll save my tether for them. Actually, you know what? I see them all clumped up right there. Let's get that shot going. Throw a nade in so we get our Mobius quiver juice. Another tether. There's our tanky servitor right there. Exactly who I was waiting for. Hit some crits. And we probably don't need another Leviathan's breath shot for him. Scavenge up all our heavy. Remember, we have our harmonic siphon, so we get a good chunk of ammo for every brick that we pick up. Let our volatile rounds put in some work. Let's get a weakening grenade in. Let's get another scatter grenade in. That'll re-weaken because of undermining. Get a little finisher. Probably get another finisher. Dodge, that'll proc our dynamo. Got our tether back again. Anything we can use it on? Anything worthwhile? We have a tanky shank right there, but he's cooked. Ammo is proving to not be a problem at all as well. I haven't really picked up any heavy crates whatsoever, and like we're completely topped off on ammo. Alright, so this is where we should be able to put our good old Mobius quiver to work. So we'll do the Mobius. Lock and load on the levy shot. One shot. I might not be hitting crits. I wonder why it's taking more Mobius quiver shots to get that meter full. But I'm just gonna wait until my super is like as low as it can go before I fire off the final round. Because then I can get the most mileage out of my weaken. From the tether specifically, because then it's gonna last longer overall. A little dodge. I'm gonna throw little weaken grenades so these guys will stop attacking me because they'll get disoriented. Thanks for some easy pickings. Boss is damageable again. We don't have a tether ready to go, so we'll just kind of whittle him down to his next break point, and then we'll have tether for the final. Oh, never mind. He's just continuing to be damageable, I guess? I guess we can just maybe one-shot him. Maybe we don't even have to worry about those fallen drones. I guess so. I don't really know what the point of that breakpoint in his HP bar was, to be completely honest. All right, I think now it's exfil time, if I'm not mistaken. We got some Scully enemies now. Stylus Execution. We got a Retaliator. Little dodge, another Retaliator back here. Let's get a little tether into him. That'll phase him, so we can now take out this Retaliator. Oh my days. That's a brutal place for that tether to go, I'm not gonna lie. For whatever reason, it's seeming to take significantly more hits with my Leviathan's Breath, even when I do crit them, to fully fill up that Mobius quiver meter than it did in the range. And I'm wondering if that's just because These enemies are skulls because we're so many power levels down, and as such, maybe this build isn't going to be as potent in content like this, where you've got like all the scully enemies. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still pretty good for survivability and general damage and debuffing everything, but you might just not be able to as frequently take advantage of the maximum bonus damage buff of Mobius quiver and stuff like this when you've got all the skull enemies and whatnot. Obviously, for on-level raids and on-level dungeons and like raid boss DPS, where you'd probably be using this a decent amount, I would guess that you'll still be completely chilling, that you'll still be good to go when it comes to filling up that meter rather quickly, hopefully with just 2 Leviathan's Breath shots. But is something interesting to take note of. All right, hold up. Now, let me try one more time. I want to pull up the shooting range real quick one more time and make sure we do an instance of ultimate where we're minus 30 power and see if it takes significantly more Leviathan's Breath bow shots to actually get that meter all the way filled up. Because it definitely took a lot more bow shots to get that Mobius quiver's meter filled up, which doesn't automatically make the build bad necessarily. I mean, as y'all could see, it was still absolutely pumping on the damage, tons of super uptime, tons of debuffs, tons of utility, ability regeneration, survivability, all that goodness. But I'm curious what that discrepancy was. Rally to the flag. Hit a Mobius quiver. Load this thing back. Yeah, okay, I see. So if you're running at like minus 20, minus 30 content and stuff like that, it is going to take you a little bit more juice to get that Mobius quiver meter filled up. Nonetheless, you can still get it filled up relatively quickly and get like a decent amount of shots in. You can definitely get enough shots in to make it so that your 2 of your 3 bursts are at that max buff of 227%. And you're still going to go ahead and throw down about 40,000 damage in total with your entire combo, which at minus 30 power is definitely not bad whatsoever. Furthermore, anytime that you are using this build in a raid boss situation, generally speaking, unless you're on like contest difficulty, for example, if you're on power and whatnot with the bosses or really even close to their power, it seems like it's only going to take 2, maybe 3 Levi's Breath shots to go ahead and get to that maximum 227% damage buff. And in most raid boss DPS phases, they're sitting for the most part completely still, very easy to hit their crit, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But nonetheless, the build, as y'all could see, was still rather potent. Like we said, tons of debuffs, tons of survivability, tons of utility, tons of team play, making your allies invisible, giving them a bunch of ability regeneration, weakening all of the enemies on the field, crowd controlling all the enemies on the field with the 35% debuff of Mobius and the suppression of them. Definitely tons of super energy. Still feels very, very good. So if you're interested in trying out this build, that's the item manager link will be in the description of the video down below. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see future builds. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.